Can you hear me okay? Yes, you can. I'm going to come down and be with you for the next hour and a half. And we're going to have some fun. And guys, I want to see what you're thinking in your hearts and minds. What are some of your concerns that are going on in this country? What do you think are the solutions? And I want to interact with you, talk with you, discuss with you, and unify together. You know, I have to say, after the one question was asked where someone mentioned my religious affiliation, I thought, oh my goodness, walls probably went up. And I have to tell you, I feel a little bit like Ronald Reagan. At the National Affairs briefing, he was introduced by Pastor James Robinson. And he was in front of an evangelical group. And he says, I know you cannot endorse me, but I endorse you. And I can tell you that I feel very much this way, being asked to come in and speak with you. We've had the absolute honor to travel this country and to be involved with many churches of various denominations, from Catholic to Baptist to evangelical, and to come in and mingle with them and link arms with them means the world to me. Because this, as has already been mentioned, is a spiritual battle. And we cannot allow division to do just that, divide us. We must come together and identify what is our mission. What will bring us closer to the ideal is what the question has to be. Because there is no perfect candidate, and we're all imperfect ourselves. But you know, was many years ago when I would keep a tablet next to my bed in hopes that I would come up with profound thoughts and would wake up and I would write them down. And I collected about 6 1-inch thick books over the years. Just the thoughts that I had and things that I thought were important, and that in many ways I thought God was communicating with me. And the one vision that I had, it wasn't necessarily a vision, it was just a thought. I had woken up, and the thought that I had was about Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark. And you might think I'm crazy, and I may very well be crazy. But here was the thought I had. No rudder, no sail. No rudder and no sail. Have you ever, it goes into this intricate detail on how to build the ark. Is there anything there about a rudder or a sail? There wasn't, at least not that I've read. And the thought that came to mind at this point in my life was, Shane, turn your life over to God. He is the rudder, He is the sail. And we've got to come together and recognize that sometimes we have that one issue that we want to go after. But we've got to come together with the foundation of what really brings us together. You know, one of the disturbing things as I've traveled and listened to people talk is we tend to be one-issue people. We talk about our issue and we move forward with that issue, disregarding the idea that if we would get our foundation in place, those issues would resolve themselves. And that one issue is, in many ways, the Constitution of the United States, a document that was inspired by God. And I had a colleague of mine who was teaching out at the university, and he told me that he'd given an assignment to write on the Constitution. And one student had submitted his paper along with all of the others, and this is what the student wrote. Many people take the USS Constitution for granted. Many people take the USS Constitution for granted. Really? Right? I have to remind myself, the Constitution is a document, it is not a ship. Right? And so here we have this, and I deal with this each and every semester. I have students come into my class, and I start out with a discussion on fundamental liberties, on the function of the Constitution, on the purpose of government, and then we start talking about inalienable rights and where they come from. And what is the typical response that we get? They come from the government. And these are students ages 17 to 85 that I've had come through my classroom over the last decade. And where do these ideas come from? Right? They generally come from our schools and they come from our culture. And you have a very uneducated people. And it's very simple. How can you defend a Constitution that you don't understand? How can you defend liberty that you don't understand? You know, I have to tell you that something I don't share very often, but I feel moved to share this with you today. As was mentioned, I'm actually a prosecutor by day. And I love my job. My mom was not too happy when she found out that I was going to the gang unit. I spent 5 years of my life in the gang unit. I'm no longer there. I'm with the office, but no longer in the gang unit. I got a call in February of 2007. I was driving down the freeway, and I got a call from one of the detectives from the Phoenix Police Department. And he said, Shane, I've got a case that I'd like to talk to you about. He said, we just foiled a murder attempt. I said, great, bring it on down. He said, Shane, actually, this is a little different. This was a murder attempt on your life that was supposed to take place 2 weeks to the day. And an investigation had ensued, continued to ensue, and what I found out was that a hole had been buried, a literal grave had been buried out in Casa Grande, and they had uncovered the gun that was supposed to be used. They had uncovered instructions that individuals that were involved with the conspiracy were supposed to carry out. And the instructions were simply this: take him out in the desert, torture him, and then bury him. But there was an alternative instruction as well: if you can't catch him, you can't kidnap him, drop him where he's at. And as you can imagine, a mother and a father would be very disturbed by this. And my mom continued to tell me, Shane, why are you doing this? And I said, Mom, the irony of it all is I'm doing it because of what you taught me. Right? Somebody's got to fight evil. And if I'm the person that steps aside, who, Mom, do you suggest will step in? Right? And it was something my mom knew in her heart, but she just was uncomfortable with the fact being the mother as she is. And you know, I have to tell you, I've thought about this often, working in this profession, that what we do is just not normal. What prosecutors do is just not normal. What individuals do to ensure liberty is not normal. Think about this for a moment. National stability. We take for granted in this country national stability. When the fact of the matter is national stability is not normal. Every 30 to 40 years, your average country will have a revolution because of concerns that they have. They'll seek power and they'll cause a revolution to gain power. And yet we take this for granted that we have national stability, that we don't have a revolution every 30 to 40 years. What we are doing is not normal. People generally, throughout the ages, do not stand up and fight for freedom for all. They tend to fight for freedom for their one specific issue or their one specific group. But groups of people coming together and saying, I recognize it's not just about freedom that I endorse, it's about freedom for everybody, because that's what we were born to do. We were born to be free. We were born to exercise our agency and to be accountable to God. And so what we're doing, I think it's important that we recognize that what we're doing is not normal. I often call them sheepdogs. What we are doing is much like that of a sheepdog. Of course, you know that there's three types of people in the world, right? There's the sheep, there's the wolves, and there's the sheepdogs. And who are the sheep? They're the 99% of the people in this world who live and let live, don't ruffle any feathers, don't speak out of turn, don't tell other people how they should live their lives, don't tell the government how to do their thing, because the government knows best. I mean, just quit causing all these problems by speaking up. Those are 99% of the people in the world. Live and let live. And then, of course, you have the wolves. And who are the wolves?
Politicians.
Politicians. You guys are so skeptical. The politicians. No, they're really simply this. Any entity, any group, any individual that would seek to deprive individuals of their freedom. And then, of course, you have the sheepdogs. Have you ever seen that picture? You see the sheep are roaming through the pasture, and in the midst, it's been photoshopped. And I keep telling myself I've got to get this picture and insert it into one of my PowerPoints. It's a wolf draped with sheep clothing, just walking among the sheep. And the sheep, excuse me, but being as dumb as they are, continue to just walk and graze and enjoy life. Meanwhile, the wolf is in their midst. And what are those sheepdogs doing? Exactly what we're doing here today. Recognizing that freedom is at stake. And that there is a more perfect way to run a government. And that we were literally born to be free. And what do? We tell the sheep, caution, beware. There's a wolf in your midst. And he will seek to deprive you of your freedom. And the sheep say, you're crazy. You're just crazy. No, really, exercise caution. And typically the sheep almost always hate the sheepdogs. Almost always. As you look throughout history, the small minority of people who will typically rise up and say, enough is enough, freedom, responsibility, the sheep have always resisted the efforts of the sheepdogs. Look at the founding generation. You have many, many people, in fact, more than not, that resisted the attempts of our founding fathers. Right? They resisted the efforts of the sheepdogs, but what happened after the fact? It's like Mark Twain says. He says, being a patriot is a lonely proposition. Standing for freedom is a lonely proposition. But once you win that battle, who will seek to jump on board? The timid. But there is no glory, if you will, in being a patriot after the battle is won. Right? Being a patriot and standing up for principle is something that is going to be lonely. And it's the things that we're here to do today. We're here to link arms. To recognize that there is unity, there is strength in unity. I have to show you something. This here, anybody want to venture a guess what this is? Just take a guess. What? For the patrol car, he says. For the patrol car, to make sure that, yeah, keep the driver safe. Steve, what is this?
Expanded metal.
Why do you have to be so scientific? Expanded metal. What is this, Steve?
Expanded
My
metal.
goodness. Hey, what do I hear here? Security. A crate? I didn't hear this. Say this a little louder.
A sifter. Sift out.
Sift out. Are you ready for this? You can touch it at some point during the day. You can touch it if you would like. This is actually a piece of the Berlin Wall. I lived 30 miles south of the border in October of 1990 when the wall came down. And for me, this was an unbelievable experience. I grew up in a family that bled red, white, and blue. We love this country. We talk about this country. My mother's side sold everything that they had when she was 9 years old. She had 3 siblings. There were 3 of them total. Her father sold everything. Said, you get 1 suitcase each. We're going to America. And they came here for one primary reason: religious liberty. That was the reason why they came. And even though I had learned these things growing up, being 30 miles south of the border and watching this unfold made me so proud to be an American. Because it started to occur to me, wait a second, why, if what they're offering in East Germany is so great, why are they building a wall to keep the people there? And yet these people are literally risking their lives to leave. And the last time I checked, down in Florida, California, I'm not seeing people building little handmade boats and going off to Cuba, going out to Europe. I've yet to see this. People leaving en masse. There's something special about this country. There's something special about this Constitution. And well, let me ask you, if you had to summarize in a sentence or two, what makes this country different than others? What makes this Constitution so profound? What makes it different? I mean, is it really just this nationalistic perspective that we have that, hey, we're Americans, this is where we live, we're going to stand strong? Or is there something different really going on here?